Today's brew is going to be the Mangrove Jacks Red IPA. What I've done, as always, is taken a razor to split the half bag. All the dry bits are in, but not the wet bits, and then plonk that into some warm water so that it gets all soft. I'm going to plonk the yeast into some sugary water to get that started. These are the hops that were in there. There's a book of words somewhere. So once that's all softened down a little bit, I'm going to brew a kettle so I can rinse that out, chuck it in a bucket, throw some sugar in, take a hydrometer reading, and then once the yeast is all fluffed up, chuck the yeast on, and that is that. Hydrating the yeast or making a yeast starter is completely optional. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Occasionally what I'll do is mix everything together in a bucket and then just chuck the yeast on top. But for these, I'm just experimenting a little bit with doing the yeast starter. So for this particular kit, it's a Liberty Bell yeast M36, and that means absolutely nothing to me. I'm sure in the fullness of time I will get used to what this all means and stuff. But there we go. So that now is in there. I'm not. Shall I stir it? No, I'm not going to stir it. I might stir it. I don't know yet. I'm going to stick it somewhere warm in the microwave. Obviously, I'm not going to turn the microwave on, and then wait. This has now been soaking in hot water for 15 minutes. So I'm going to cut the top off, chuck it in there, and then rinse it out with some boiled water. Yeah, that's the malt and boiling water. And there goes sugar. Dextrose monohydrate. And I know I don't want to get involved in all that. People say, oh, just use normal table sugar, Tate and Lyle, or whatever. I say Tate and Lyle. I suppose other brands might be available unless they've taken over the whole world. But I get this dextrose cheaply enough, and it's got more sugars which can be utilised by the yeasts than table sugar. Table sugars are right, but a lot of the sugars in table sugar, does that make sense, can't be fermented as well with yeast. I give that a smashing little stir and then start adding some Tesco's 17p for 2 litres. What a load of plastic though, eh? Gonna have to find something to do with these plastic bottles. I don't like single-use plastics. I'm going to give this a good old stir for about another 5 minutes. I won't bore you with that. And then we'll start chucking the water in and get a nice big foamy head on it. That aerates. It's called aeration. Aerates the top. Gives the yeast something to do. Got sugar all over me. That's nice. Let's just have a look at see how the yeast is doing. That's good. It is just starting to react with the sugar. That should foam up nicely. Very nice and foamy. I've also taken an hydromatical reader. I'm going to call that somewhere around 1040. I'm going to let it settle and do it properly, obviously, don't panic. But it's not far off 1040, 1.040. So let's check on the yeasty stuff. Oh yeah, that's starting to swell up nicely. Nice and swollen. Stop it. And again, this water's cheap, but what about the plastic bottles? That's an awful lot of wasted plastic. And I got 10 more from the brew I did yesterday, the Mangrove Jack Lager, Hell's Lager. So yeah, don't know. That's the other thing I forgot. Is that's currently at measuring 26. it's at the top end of where I like it to be for pitching yeast in. That means pitching is a term that brewers use for chucking in the yeast. So I'm going to let that cool down a little bit, which it will do, but I'm in no rush as long as the yeast doesn't overflow too much. But I'm going to let that drop down to about 22, 20. Then it's going in the fermenting fridge, which is currently sat at, I think, 19. Yeah, bang on 19. That's good, that's where we want it. And then once it's cooled down and ready to go in, we'll bung it in the fridge. That ain't done too bad. Actually, you know what? Zoom out a little bit. Oop, other way. That's it. And this is what is called pitching your yeast. It's not really that technical, but I'm going to rinse that out with a little bit of spare water that I saved. Super. Lid on. Ooh. And then get it in a fermentation fridge. And there she goes. Not giving it enough of a oh, I must close this fridge door soon, it's up to 21. It won't matter, soon get down again. Enough of an advert for Richie's, who seem to be trying to take over the homebrew market at the moment. That one down there, that's the one that I did yesterday. That's the Mangrove Jack Lager, which is bubbling away nicely. Krausen almost coming through the lid. Look at that. Right up, almost coming out that tube. Or is it coming out that tube? I think it was earlier. So there we are. Now we just wait probably about, I don't know, 10 days or something. Well, 7 days before pitching the dry hops in. I always keep the dry hops on top so I don't lose them or forget where I've put them, because I don't lose anything. Wait for that to start fermenting. I'll have a look later, but that basically is that. And just a quick catch up on the hydrometer reading. It's not really a meter, the hydrometer scale reading, and it's fucking difficult with all these bubble stuff in a way, but 40. When that settles, I'm calling that, it's all over the fucking place now, but it was 1044, so anywhere between 1042 and 1043 is probably about not far off when those bubbles are out of the way. Now the bubbles have died down a little bit, the hydrometer reading is saying 1.046. That's good. That's good. The Mangrove Jacks Red IPA was started on the 6th of July. It's now the 17th of July, so it's had 11 days. It's probably about 3 to go. I read a tip somewhere, bung in an extra 50 gram of Citra hops in, and when it's got about 3 days to go. So it can't hurt, can it? Let's open this and throw them in. There we are. And that's all we got to do. Seal it back up again. I'll do that when I've got 2 hands. And then wait. Believe it, it's the 10th of August. It's getting cold, it's getting a bit windy. I'll go somewhere where it's a bit less windy. If I come around here, it might be a little bit less windy. That's better. In the shadow. Oh no, in the shadow of the wind. Anyway, this is purely for completion. Now I kegged this 3 weeks ago And I have to admit two things. One, I overcarbonated it. Two, I've been pissing around with it so it's not as clear as it should be. Now the overcarb I have managed to cure by just decarbing it quite a lot, and it will settle, it will clear. Before I started dicking around with it, it's beautifully clear, but it's still very, very carbonated. What can I say about this Mangrove Jacks American Red IPA? Now, I brewed it per kit, but I did put 50 gram of extra Citra in a couple of days before I racked it off. Let's have a little taste. That is blinding. That really is a good kit. Now, for a little over 20 quid, you get about 40 pints. I always say throw the instructions away because it takes about 2 weeks to ferment, then leave it for 2 weeks to get its act together, and then leave it forever. No, probably about a month or so. Now, I can't remember the actual timings on this, but this has only been in the keg for 3 weeks. I will, and I've been dicking around with it, I would now leave this if it didn't taste so good. So I'm going to have to get another Mangrove Jacks kit and stick it in another keg to forget about while I drink this, because this is absolutely gorgeous. And if you're going to do this, it's up to you whether or not you put that extra 50 grams of Citra in a day or two before you rack it. I think it adds to it. But I do like Mangrove Jacks kits as they come. Right, that is it, boys and girls. I hope this has been helpful. If it has, I want you to write this down on a card so that I always know what to say. If it has, then would you please click like? And if you like these silly videos that I do, I wonder whether I might beg your indulgence so that you subscribe to this the channel. It's called a channel. Almost like TV, isn't it? And I'm sorry about the glass. I've just realised I'm showing you a lager glass when this is a beautiful American Red IPA. So yes, thanks for watching. I hope this has been helpful to people. If you feel like brewing this, please do. It's a beautiful kit. And Mangrove Jacks, I mean, they're so consistent. They really are. I don't get paid or anything. I don't even get sort of like, you know, if you click like and all that, I don't get anything. All I'm doing this for is because I love brewing stuff like this, and I like to try and encourage everybody else to do it as well. So if you like it, click like. Please think about subscribing, and that, boys and girls, is that.